Because if I bring too much energy to this situation, it's going to create friction or awkwardness. And ultimately, nobody likes that friction or the awkwardness. That's why so many people are afraid to pick up the phone and call the damn leads to begin with, because they
Right.
don't want it to be awkward when they get on the phone with somebody. They don't want to feel like, hey, the only reason I'm calling you is to sell you this thing, which makes me feel icky. And also now there's a lack of confidence. And so you immediately feel that because energy is transferable. And so when you pick up the phone and I go, yeah, hey, I'm calling because I have this thing that I think you'll really, really like. And they're like, yeah, no, I'm good. Thank you. Versus if I go, hey, this is Drewbie over at Call the Damn Leads. I know you're in sales and you're looking to close more deals. If I could help you do that, would you be interested?
Welcome to Wisdom on the Front Porch. Subscribe, ring the bell, like, and share the wisdom. Pull up a chair and join us with today's guest.
Hey, welcome to another episode of Wisdom on the Front Porch. And sitting on my front porch today is Drewbie Wilson. And we're so glad you're here with us sitting on the porch. We're glad you pulled up a chair. And we're going to just get right into it. So, Drewbie, tell our audience, our guests, who you are.
All right. Well, thank you again for having me. My name is Drewbie, the Meme Lord Wilson. So, for those of you who aren't watching, I do literally have the words Meme Lord tattooed across my knuckles. Partly because I'm an idiot, also because I love memes, and I've been in sales my whole life. So, I've pretty much been unemployable since I was a little guy. Um, and listen, I've learned that to be successful, to build a business, to do any of the things that we want to do in life, we have to really focus in on how we can serve other people. And so when I say sales, I really mean service, because when you show up and you serve others and you help them get the thing that they want the most, whether it's getting out of the pain that they're in or getting into the pleasure that they've been looking for, we're really just serving to help that person. So I'm a big believer that if you can serve well, you can sell well. And if you can show up every day and do a great job, then by golly, you'll live the life that you want to live.
That's awesome. I have a shirt and sometimes I wear it on my show. And it's a pair of fists like this. It says barbecue for life. It's from a friend of
Oh,
ours
yeah.
in Boise, Idaho, that has this amazing barbecue restaurant. Just and it has vegan. Now you wouldn't think those two would go together, but it's wonderful. He's yeah, just really good food.
You be careful. We'll go down a whole path talking about barbecue.
Oh
Lived in
man.
Texas for a while, and I love smoking me some brisket. So we'll
Oh
get into
yeah.
that here, I'm sure.
Oh man, we'll have to talk brisket. My husband's just started doing his first couple of briskets and they're pretty
Mm.
good. I yeah. There's nothing I love more than having him cook. He's so good. All righty. So there's t-shirt idea for you. Get that those fists on a t-shirt. Let's get them sold. So this is wonderful. You're doing sales. People think, oh, sales are so boring, but they're not, or they're thinking, oh, sales are so gruesome and awful. I hate it. I don't want to be salesy to my customers. But we sell things every day, and I'm sure many of you have heard this. We sell the movie we just saw. That was so fantastic. Or we sell our car. You should see this amazing car I just got, or pickup, or motorcycle, or whatever it is, jewelry, anything that we have. Without realizing it, we're selling it because we're telling everybody how excited we are about it. And if you, as an entrepreneur, have your own business, you should be equally excited about this is my business. I'm so excited about it. Like I've got Baxter's Heart that's out there now. It's can only be gotten from veterinarians. Well, my website, of course, and crematoriums. It's a gentle, comforting way to explain death about a pet, which also can transfer to death of a person, to children and families. And I just gotten some really amazing reaction. It's like the giving book that I have going up, volume 6. Can you believe it, Juby? 6 volumes. And I started
Ooh.
this 4 years ago. And it's like, wow. So this is my once a year giving back to the world. And I'm getting submissions in already for this one. It should be out in mid-June, maybe just in time for 4th of July. But I love it because anybody can submit to it. You can submit art, poetry, um, photography, stories, memoirs, jokes, laughter. We always have to have laughter in there because laughter connects us all together in ways that we never even thought of. And it's just amazing. My grandson, who does anime work, and he's autistic, but um, he does this amazing anime work. He's actually gave me some little comic-like things to put in this year. So that's something different for him. I'm so excited about it. You can tell. See? I love it. So so tell
That's
us,
how it should be.
it should be. And I forgot my water. Allergy season. So tell us about sales, why it's exciting, why we should, if we don't like doing it, we need to get a hold of you, right?
Yeah. I mean, you did a pretty dang good job of selling it, but I'll go a couple layers deeper because for me, I mean, sales, I grew up, without getting too far into the story, and I've written 6 books, so I've got plenty to read if you guys want to go hear my whole life
Right.
story. I'm actually working on another one right now, literally before we started this recording. So I'm a content creator like you, but if I go way, way back and I think about my childhood, I grew up in a not the greatest situation. It wasn't the worst by any means, but we definitely had some struggles and some traumas that we went through, like most people do. And along the way, I realized like nobody's coming to save me. And if I want what I want out of life, and at first it was fresh clothes, a roof over my head, and food on the table, to now, whatever that toy, that game, the thing, the material possession might be, if I wanted those things, I was gonna have to go and get it. And at first, when I was young, the way that I went and got it was not always the most moral or ethically, let's just say I was doing some things that weren't the greatest at that time, making some poor decisions. And as I got older, I realized that, I could stay in the streets and I could keep selling the stuff that I was selling and I could keep making money and maybe I'd last forever, but the statistics in that world, not so good.
No.
Death, prison, high likelihood. Not something I really wanted because I ended up meeting a pretty lady, getting married. We had a son, bought a house, and at a certain point, I kind of realized I can't keep living the life that I'm living and expecting to have it for the length that I want to have it. And so
Oh,
sales was my saving grace because I'd always been in sales. And along the way had picked up sales jobs doing retail and then got let go 2 weeks before Christmas because the owner decided that he didn't want to pay me out and different things were going on. And so, like everybody, we go into these things and we think we have it all figured out, and then life throws us a curveball. And every time a curveball's ever been thrown my way, sales has been there to pick me up and take me into the next at bat.
oh,
And
nice.
so, what I really appreciate about sales is that you can come from any background, any personality type, any previous situation and you can find a way to make a life in sales. And now it's grueling and grimy and tough work sometimes. But if you want to create something for yourself, sales, it doesn't judge as much as you would think like a corporate. Like you can have felonies, you can have tattoos, you can be skinny, fat, tall, short. You can have any flavor you want. And if you care about people and you show up and you do right by them and help them get what they want, you will be successful in sales. And that's why I love this business and industry so much because I've seen people and met people from every walk and scenario of life that have been able to turn their life around and create something of true impact for them and their family and the people in their community with sales.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. I like that because it's not just about us, it's about who we're serving. And there are those who from the outside perspective are very successful. Maybe sometimes from the inside perspective, they're successful at what they do, but it's still about them. But I think the most successful people are the ones who make it about others. And I love to hear that you do that and that anybody can do it. And you've been through the tough underbelly of the world, so to say, and you've come out of it. And
Thank the Lord.
next,
I wouldn't be here
next,
without the Lord's graces. That's for sure. And
amen, brother.
it comes back to, like I said, it's we get to make decisions. Everyone is blessed with the opportunity. If you woke up today, you've been given the grace to make choices. And the
Mhm.
choices that you make are ultimately going to dictate the life and the reality that you live within. And there's definitely a woo-woo aspect to this of, some people kind of get in their own way of not
Oh,
believing they
yeah.
have, the skills or not deserving of the success that they're capable of. And that's something we could dive into. But at the end of the day, as long as you really want to get the results and you're willing to do the work, sales is not difficult. It's not. And that's why I say if you can just show up and care about people and trust the process, it's a win-win for everybody. And that's where you had mentioned earlier, right? It's the service. And selfishly, yeah, of course I want to win. Of course I want to close deals.
Yes,
Like that's how I put food on the table. That's how I take care of
that's
my
right.
family and provide for like of course I want to be selfish and win. And at the same time, for me to win, ultimately I have to help you win. Because if you don't know me from Adam, you have zero reason to want to give me any of that hard-earned money in your pocket. So I've got to earn my position and my place by helping provide value and giving you the thing that you want or desire the most.
That's awesome. I was just thinking this morning, um, thinking about all the things I've invested myself and our time and money
Mm.
into to grow to get me to where I am today. And, I thought, oh, if you would have told me 4 years ago I was going to have to put this kind of funds into investing in myself, I would have said, there's no way I can do it. So, I hear that the money is always out there. And this morning I realized the money is always out there. I just need to find how to use it, what to do with it, where to put it. And for what I'm going for, it's either there or it isn't. And when it's there, it's a good thing. When it's not there, then maybe I shouldn't be going in that direction. I don't want to go down a rabbit hole that's just going to pop me back up where I was in the very beginning. That's never good. I don't want to take those detours that are going to side rail me that I never did accomplish what I wanted to do. And fortunately, I've been really blessed by God to have the funds available for the things that are getting me to where I need to go. I mean, I get to be in this amazing event, possibly getting a Guinness Book World Record in May, and never would have done that if I hadn't taken each of these steps to get there. Now, what has this all got to do with sales? I had to sell myself, and I think we are the hardest thing to sell to
Mm.
ourselves. I had to sell myself that I was a good investment. I had to sell myself that this was the right path. And and sometimes we get going on a path and it just stops. We get hit by this brick wall. Just talking with someone this morning about Mercury in retrograde. I don't know quite the right terms, but a lot of people are in this little zone right now that is stopping them. And all they want to do is clean out the garbage, which is a really good thing, to do. But it's a pause. Sometimes we have to take a pause. Our bodies need rest, so we go to sleep. We take naps, so our lives and our business also needs a pause. And it's okay to take a pause. Why we think it's not okay, I don't know. But during that pause, you get to reflect. You get to see where you're going. Am I going the right direction? Have I gone off on a side road and I need to bring myself back? Those are really good things. So when we think of sales, we have to think of our hardest customer, which is ourself. And how do we
Mm.
deal with that? How do we sell ourselves on, I have to get my mind right? Never heard about mindset before 4 years ago. It's like, what are you talking about? What are all these words you're using? You've got this whole learning curve of a new language and finding out, John Maxwell talks about the cap. This is as far as you're able to learn. And until you're willing to say, I don't want that cap anymore, I want to expand and see how far I can go. Perfect example of this is a gentleman I was talking with, and it wasn't even 6 months into this choice that I made, this path I was following. And we were both in this one webinar, and we had to pick a number of where we'd like to be in 2 years and just
Okay.
pick any random number. So I picked this huge number. Now, this gentleman I was talking with was my age, and he goes, that's ridiculous. You need to be practical. You need to choose something that's within your means. And I thought, and I just heard about John Maxwell cap, and I thought, here's a perfect example. His cap was right there. He thinks nobody his age can get past that cap. My cap was up here. This is where I wanted to go. And if I didn't reach it, okay, but at least I'm going to reach for something really big and go for it and see if I can do it and see where it gets me. And and I think at that point I was finally ready to listen to my own sales call that one, I was worth the investment. And two, I don't dream too big. I dream big enough just for me and all those around me I'm going to serve. So take it away, Drewbie, on,
No,
on sales and sales yourself.
listen, you're loving. I'm listening and going, "Hey, I preach, sister. This is hey." And I do want to expand on a couple of topics though, because you definitely hit on
Sure.
some very good points. And so one, let's start with the self first. We are our own biggest enemy. We
Oh,
know
yeah.
all the dirty secrets. We know all the inside. We know every judgment and rationalization and way to convince ourselves to do all the things that we shouldn't be doing.
Right.
But doing the things that we should be doing is difficult. And what's so interesting about the process to me is most of the time we come up against this big brick wall and we're like, "Brr," we're frustrated, we're mad, we're angry, we're all the emotions. And typically what we'll do is we'll take the energy from those emotions, the anger, the fear, the frustration, and we will try to use that to just obliterate and plow through that brick wall. And 80% of the time it works. Like you can just use pure anger and frustration as the fuel to get things done. But
Right.
unfortunately, that other 20%,
Hmm.
it's not actually a brick wall. It's made of whatever that special Wakandan material is from the Marvel universe. It's like unbreakable. And so now you're beating your head against this unbreakable material, thinking, hey, if I just keep using this anger and this frustration and this fuel, it's going to get done. And it never happens. And then you just
Right.
have this really nasty headache and you can't see straight because you've just been banging your noggin for hours straight. And then you're like, okay, well, now that I'm in this state of complete confusion and frustration, and now I'm going to start making decisions. And it's like, hold on a second. What if, just hear me out, what if we went back to the start and when we actually realize there's a brick wall in front of us, instead of just continuing to push forward, maybe we, as you said, pause for just a moment to get some perspective.
Excellent. Excellent.
Because
Yeah.
what happens if that brick wall is only 4 feet wide and all you need to do is take a step to the left or to the right? But you've done
Absolutely.
nothing but just stay singularly focused on going forward. And so you have to get out of your own way. That is one of the first things that I've learned is my biggest, not biggest, but one of the things is like if I get hyper fixated on something, I will just bull my way through that stupid thing. But not everything can just be bowled through. Some
Right.
things are a little more delicate. And to bull through them would actually destroy the thing that you're trying to get to. And so this is where there's that woo woo kind of like, not everybody likes to talk about it side of things, but is really, really important, is to understand yourself and be able to be aware of those triggers and those red flags that start to occur.
Yes.
And that's it could be in, business, it could be in life. Some of you are grossly afraid to get on camera and send a video to your prospects about the thing that you're trying to educate them on when body language is like 70% of communication. So for those of you who aren't seeing me wave my hand around and do all the things that I do because that's part of how I communicate in person, you're missing that context. And so it's important to remember that there's layers to all of the things that we're doing when we're working with ourselves and with others. And so having the perspective of how you make decisions, how you are aware of your emotions and the reactions that you have to certain emotions, because when you can get clarity on those things, you can start to build a process. So for me, one of the things in my journey that's been really important for me personally and for part of the story I tell is that At one point in my life, I tipped the scales over 315 pounds. Now I'm 6'2", so I'm already a pretty big guy as it is, but at 315, I was big. And the perspective and the realization was I can't keep living this life and be the husband, the father, or the man that I truly want to be. And one of the ways I was able to recognize that is a friend of mine came to me and he's like, "Hey, man, I see you're working hard and you're doing all this stuff to provide for your family, and that's pretty sweet. But what if, boom, you're up in heaven looking down and your wife's in bed with some other jerk in your house and your kid's in the other room crying because you didn't make the time to take care of yourself? You're stressed out, you're
Wow.
fat, you're not eating right. Like, is that what you want? You want to have done all of these things just so someone else can live the life that you are creating?" And that was like a real gut punch because the realization is I am the one in control of all of these things. And yet I'm still making choices that are leading me down a path that I don't want.
Right.
And so the woo-woo side is just truly getting the awareness and the belief that you deserve all of it, not just some of it. And it's hard every day. I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and preach about like I'm perfect and I do that. Like I'm trust me, I'm a regular human just like you are.
Awesome.
And also, I recognize that by spending more money than I'd ever thought I'd make in my lifetime on coaching and development and working with these people over the years to learn and to grow, there's a reason that we all kind of fall back on some very simple things.
Right.
And belief in yourself being a big part of the confidence to go out and achieve the goals that you set, whether it's losing the weight, building the business, writing the book, creating the podcast, singing the song, like whatever that thing is, you are 100% capable and deserving of doing it, but it starts with you first.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you brought that out. We have to start with the basic, which is us. We are the foundation. We're building the foundation, but we have to do it. Can't expect anybody else to do it. Everybody talks about AI right now, and a lot of people are expecting AI to do everything. It's a tool. We need to understand it's a tool. Just spoke with a friend of mine this morning. He had AI. He saw where AI had written this whole song, and it was a character singing it and whatnot. And it's like, wow, that's really interesting. But where's the people connection? Where's the human connection in it? And people didn't realize that it was AI, but you could realize there's something missing, and that's that human connection. That's what makes us special as humans, and I mean valuable as humans. One of the things I talk about all the time, you have great value in you, and that value comes from us, from the choices we've made, from the reactions to choices that other people have made that have directly affected us and how we've done that. And because that is our value, that is what makes us worthy to
Mm.
be, to do, to give, to share. And all of that together, of course, is what makes us enough. And that's why we matter, because nobody else in the universe ever will or ever has made the choices that you have made. And that's why you matter, because only you can give what you have. Nobody else can give what you have. That's why you can have 100 people doing the same thing, and it's all going to be 100 different ways, because with 8 billion people in the world, you need 100 different ways to have something done to reach everybody. One person
Ooh.
is not going to reach all of those people. And if you reach one life, you have no idea what that's going to impact to the life that they reach or to the lives that they reach. I mean, it's just amazing when you think about it. One thing I said, talking about value, I just had somebody call me the other day, and they're going through a really tough, difficult situation. She says the only reason I haven't stopped everything and ended it all and given up was because you explained to me that
Mm.
I do have value in me. And I tell you, it's giving me goosebumps, but it scared me for this person because we become good friends. And to hear her talk about being in such a dark place, But to know that something I said, and it doesn't come from me. What comes from me comes from my Father in heaven. He's the one who gave me this brain. I've got an ADHD brain, and I tell you what, it can mess me up so many times. But to hear somebody say that something I said helped them in their struggle, and that's what it's all about. My cells was to get my message across, you know, and that's all we have to do. People think sales is really hard. I think sales is really hard. I don't like it, but it's so
I think
important.
I don't want to reject that for you because it is your opinion.
Right,
However,
right.
I would say that I think the wrong type of sales is difficult
Yes,
for you.
yes,
And
absolutely. I agree.
one thing that I can speak to both personally and from working with thousands of clients in the last decade is that there is a difference between selling someone else's product or service and selling yourself as the product or service. And I don't mean like in a weird
Explain
kind of
that
way,
to
but
us.
like
Yeah,
here's what I mean by that. Because when you're selling, let's just say that you go and work on a car lot and you're selling someone else's cars. Great. You're only responsible for the sales transaction. You're not
right.
responsible for the vehicle being of quality. You're not responsible for the finance of it. Like you're only responsible for selling that piece of paper that they're going to sign and agree to buy that vehicle. And then you're done. But when you have to sell yourself and you
Ooh,
have to go out there and you have to have that belief and you're like, listen, I'm going to do this for you. I'm going to XYZ, expectations, deliverables, yada, yada. Now, when you're in the middle of that, not only are you trying to convince this person that they should pay you for it, but you're convincing yourself that you're going to go and do all of that work. And so internally, your unconscious mind is battling with itself of like, okay, cool. We need to convince this person that they're going to see the value in us and that they're going to pay the number that we're getting ready to say, which is the highest number we've ever thought of in our life. And we're really scared to say it. So we have to say it with confidence. But at the same time, there's another side of our unconscious mind that's over here going, you're not worth it. They're never
ooh.
going to pay you that. No one's going to do this and you're going to fail and they're going to think you suck and everyone's going to. And like we're constantly just going back and forth in our mind. And you're sitting there looking at me like, I just asked how much it costs. Are you ever going to answer me? And I'm in my mind going like, trying to like get through the noise, right? And so this is why I say selling yourself can sometimes be more difficult than selling someone else's product or service. And I think there's an aspect of that, I would love to sit with some super psychology expert and go back and forth on it because I'm curious myself, but I've experienced it. You winced as soon as I started talking about it, so I know you've experienced it. This is body language, right? So for those of you
Right.
who aren't watching, she made this immediate like bitter beer face. Remember those old Keystone Light commercials, the bitter beer guy? She was like, because that's the feeling we get. It is bitter. We don't want to sell. We don't want to be
Yeah,
like transactional or come across the wrong way. And this is where we have to develop ourselves. We have to learn to put on that poker face. We have to learn to step into that alter ego or that character that we play because ultimately that's what it is. And we all have them.
right.
Sometimes you step into a room and you put on a character where you're a little more friendly and jovial because that's the energy, that's the vibe. But maybe that's not who you are all the time. Or maybe you are super excitable and like fun and energetic and you get into a room where you realize like, hey, I have to put on my calm mask right now. I've got to take it
Not
down
that.
a few steps, right? Like, because if I bring too much energy to this situation, it's going to create friction or awkwardness. And ultimately, nobody likes that friction or the awkwardness. That's why so many people are afraid to pick up the phone and call the damn leads to begin with because they
Right.
don't want it to be awkward when they get on the phone with somebody. They don't want to feel like, hey, the only reason I'm calling you is to sell you this thing, which makes me feel icky. And also now there's a lack of confidence. And so you immediately feel that because energy is transferable. And so when you pick up the phone and I go, yeah, hey, I'm calling because I have this thing that I think you'll really, really like. And they're like, yeah, no, I'm good. Thank you. Versus if I go, hey, this is Drewbie over at Call the Damn Leads. I know you're in sales and you're looking to close more deals. If I could help you do that, would you be interested? 100% different framework,
Oh,
100% different
yes.
reaction. Some people are still going to say no, but those are going to feel the energy, are going to go, hey, this guy's talking my language. Like, what else has he got to say? It creates that curiosity loop. And so now you're opening the opportunity to have conversation with these people. And again, we're not going to close every deal, every person that we talk to, but the goal is just to have more conversations. And when you're having the right conversation with the right person at the right time in their life, the right things will start happening. But you have to be having those conversations in order to understand, am I even having the right conversation? And if I am, how do I know it's the right time?
Right.
Because as much as the sales gurus and all the online people want to tell you that the time objection is really you just being crappy at sales, I disagree. There is a time and a place for everything and everyone in our lives. There's seasons and reasons, as God says.
Yeah.
And so, to me, the understanding of the right conversation at the right time is a huge aspect to getting the right things to happen. And when you can understand people, and going back to what we said from the start, and show up with a focus on service first, you're going to understand what that timeline is for the person, because part of the questions that you're asking in the conversation is understanding where they are in the buying journey. Have they just become aware that they have this problem? Or have they been sitting on it for a few months and it's been kind of biting them in the butt every time they sit down and they're like, man, I really got to get myself a new computer chair because this thing is falling apart and the screw is stabbing me every time I sit down. And at this point, I've got a little spot and I don't want my bikini line to show. That's, like this is the rationalization that we have to
Right.
go through to understand where is the person in their buying journey. Because if they're at that point where they're 100% tired of being in the pain that they're in, you just have to be able to say, if I can help you get out of that at this cost, would you be interested?
Yeah, I
Most of
really
the time, they're
like
going to say
that.
yes.
Yeah. And I like what comes to my mind is preparation. You have to be prepared. So you need to be prepared before you get on that phone. You know your product in and out. Even if you're the product, you know what you offer, you know it has value, you know how it can help people. So when they have questions, it's not like, well, let me find that out for you and get back to you. No, you've already got the answer. And if they have something you don't know, then you say, yeah, I've never looked at that aspect of it. No one's ever asked me that before. Let's see what we can do and go from there. And I think when we are better prepared about whatever it is, realizing that some people are just not ready yet, and that's okay. We need to be okay with a no. We have to be okay with a no. I know a lot of times that's what really freaks people out. In fact, it freaked me out, and I didn't even realize that was going on. All of a sudden, I realized I don't want to make these calls because I don't want to be told no. And it's like you have to have those no's. I tell the story sometimes about Stephen King. He was on, you can find him on YouTube, and he's talking about when he started out and his first rejection, he just kind of tacked on a nail on the wall. And he kept tacking so many rejections that the nail eventually fell out because it was too full. So what did he do? Give up? No, he got a second nail and started tacking more rejections on until he finally got where he wanted to go. And we have to prepare ourselves for the no's. We have to prepare ourselves for the yeses because sometimes we get a yes and we're so busy telling our spiel that we don't hear the yes. And the people
Hmm.
are like, hey, I said yes. And if you keep on talking, I'm going to say no when you're done.
You
So
give them too
it's,
much to think about. So that I want to
yeah,
pause there for a second because this
sure.
is such a crucial training moment. And you just touched on it without even really thinking about it from that aspect. But this is a moment in training that I have to constantly work with people on. And even myself sometimes have to like catch, like, hold on a second. Whoa, 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 whoa. Don't sell past the close. And
Right.
and what happens is
Oh,
you start educating, you have this conversation, they say yes, and instead of immediately going to the close, you continue to educate them thinking like, okay, my job is to educate them. And so what happens is now you've over-educated them, and this leads to the, well, now I have to think about it because there's too much in my mind. I've got more information than necessary, and so now I've got to figure out like what's actually important and what's not. And so this is where the tie down questions are so key to sales because it's the, and if I could help you get that taken care of, is that something you'd want to do today? Yes.
right.
Boom. awesome. Here's the next steps. We're going to get you signed up. We're going to do this, this, and this. And if they're like, well, hold on, then isolate okay, well, what's the objection? Is it the time isn't right, the price isn't right, or that you want to speak to somebody about this before you make a decision? Because it's always one of those three. There's sometimes some weird little off the wall ones, but it almost always circles back to one of those three, and one of them being the key thing, right? If the price isn't right, you have to understand, is it really that they don't see the value in it, which is why
Mhm.
they're afraid to make that investment, or that they literally just do not have the money? And then how are we going to handle it from there? Because if they're just not seeing the value, then we can circle back and help them see where the layer of value is. Like, okay, well, maybe I didn't explain something clearly, or maybe we missed something because I know I get excited and passionate and talk fast and I can't help that. I'm sorry, but we'll go back and we'll slow down. We'll try it again because I want you to see what's actually going to be here. Or maybe they don't have the money, but for how long? Remember
Right.
timing? Like, hey, it's Wednesday. I don't have the money right now. Some people are like, man, you broke ass, blah, blah, blah. Like, get out of here with you brokey. And it's like, but I got it on Friday.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I'm
Well,
thinking.
you know what I'm saying? So, like, this is where people forget. They just make snap judgments or reactions without thinking
Hmm.
logically and going, okay, well, let me ask a few more questions just to make sure that I understand. Because we're all guilty of giving surface level answers. And if you don't believe me, when you walked into the store last time and somebody said, hey, how you doing? You probably said, fine,
Boy.
living the dream, right? Like some cliche answer, but that wasn't the actual truth. That's how I know. I'm
Yeah.
watching y'all. This is the game that we live. This is life as life. Like, and so when we know these things, we can bring that to the conversation. And as I've said, sales is really just a matter of asking good questions, understanding where the person is at in their current emotional state, their buying journey, whether or not they're a good fit for your product or service at all, because sometimes you're guilty of trying to sell something to somebody that they don't even need or want, and it's just like a huge waste of everybody's time.
Right.
So qualifying is really, really important. And then to me, it's permission-based follow-up because the statistic is that only 5% of the people you talk to are actually going to buy from you within the next 1 to 7 days, which
Oh,
means
wow.
95% of people that you talk to have a much longer buying cycle, if ever. And so every industry is a little bit different. Sometimes you might have like a 1 to 2 week buying cycle for more like home service businesses or some of those things. Maybe insurances can kind of be a short cycle sometimes. But then you have things like real estate or healthcare or some of these things that can make kind of take people a little bit longer to make a decision on. They'll sit and stew in some of those pains a little bit longer than they would in certain situations where it's like, hey, if I don't fix this, our house is going to be stinky because there's a flood or like there was a fire, so there has to be a repair. You know, like certain things require a certain prioritization,
Right.
but people are really guilty of putting some things off for a long time. So you really have to build that long-term follow-up because let's just say you're paying for marketing and those 100 leads cost you, let's say, $10 each. So you're $1,000 into your marketing budget now. And let's say five of those people buy from you and you sell a $50 product. Wonderful. You've made $250 in return, which still leaves you a $750 deficit on marketing that you need to make up for at some point.
Right.
Sooner the better for most people, but we know there's a buying cycle and maybe it's over the next 30 to 45 days. And so you take those other 95 leads, you disqualify 45 of them that you know are just not a good fit in general. And then strategically, you build a relationship with those other 50 so that you can figure out how am I going to get them to buy this thing from me over the next 3 to 6 months, let's just say. Because if you can get 50 more people at $50, what's the math on that? 2,500 bucks. And so now your $1,000 has turned into 2,750, right? You got a 2.75 return on your ad spend, but it took you 3 months and some consistency. So the math is the math. The choice is up to you. are you going to do the work to actually get a return on that investment? Are you going to nurture the seeds that you've planted in the ground to where you can truly get a full harvest?
Mhm.
Because that's all this is just playing the game, understanding your numbers, and continuing to show up and have conversations as often as possible so that you're having the right conversation with the right person at the right time.
Excellent. Excellent. So, Drewbie, I've got to ask, where can people get a hold of you? How do they get in touch with you? Where can they find you?
Yeah, thank you. Number one thing they could do, share this episode on the social media platform that they prefer. Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, doesn't matter. Share it, tag at Call the Damn Leads. It's going to do two things. One, it's going to let you and I know that we got some value out of today's time, that we did something of like real impact. Because if someone's willing to hear this and share it with their community, it means that you got something out of this personally as a listener. So share it, tag at Call the Damn Leads, tag the show, let the world know that you got something of value out of this. I'm going to reach out. I'm going to say thank you because I'm always watching. I'm a sales guy. I follow up, so we watch those things. And then if you do have more questions or you want to read my books or check out our podcast, which we've interviewed hundreds of other sales professionals on entrepreneurs, just head over to callthedamnleads.com. Google Call the Damn Leads. Anywhere, everywhere, we're there. And we'll see you guys when you reach out.
That's awesome. I love that so much. You got to get the t-shirts though. I love
They're
that.
on the list. I'm already thinking about it now.
All righty. All righty. There we go. There we go. Well, thank you so much for sitting on my front porch today. Thank you, our audience, for being here. I know I gained a lot of value out of this show. I'm really excited about it. I am definitely going to find out more, and I hope you do too. Be sure and come back next time after you go visit Drew and is it Call the Damn Leads?
Callthedamnleads.com. Everything everywhere, baby. That's it.
All right. And we'll see you all next time here on Wisdom on the Front Porch. Thank you. Thank you, my Front Porch friends and neighbors, for pulling up a chair with me and my guest today on Wisdom on the Front Porch. Now, if you've got value from this conversation, would you do me a favor? Leave a quick review, then share it with someone you know who could use some inspiration. It helps more friends find their seat on the porch. And hey, make sure you're subscribed so you never miss what's next. Until then, keep the porch light on for new wisdom every time you show up. Your seat's always here for you on the porch.